Prediction markets are everywhere right now. Polymarket, Kalshi, and if you haven't used one before, the idea is pretty simple. Instead of buying stock or betting on a sports match, you can bet on almost everything. Will this politician win the election? Will a recession happen this year? Will Taylor Swift announce a new tour? So I decided to try one myself. I found this market on Polymarket asking what will be the highest grossing movie in 2026. And right now, the market thinks that the answer is Spider-Man. Spider-Man is trading at 67 cents. And what this basically means is that the market is saying that there is about a 67% chance that Spider-Man is the highest grossing movie of the year. So let's just say I put in $100. If I buy Spider-Man at 67 cents and I'm right, the contract pays out $1. So my $100 turns into about $149. If I'm wrong, I lose the full $100 amount. And this is where prediction markets started to mess with my brain, because the safest looking bet doesn't give you the biggest payout. So if I think Spider-Man will not be the highest grossing movie of 2026, I can actually buy no. And because no is cheaper, my potential profit is higher. So suddenly I stop asking what movie will make me the most money, and now I'm asking, what does everyone else think is obvious that I think is wrong? But after a while, that part started to bother me, because reading the prediction markets is one thing. Putting your own money in and trying to beat it is a completely different game. So I started digging through the research, and then I figured, hey, I'm an analyst. Let me investigate the data itself. And this is where things got weird. Every paper I read, every number I looked at, seemed to point at one uncomfortable idea. Prediction markets may only work because a small percentage of skilled traders need ordinary users to lose. When I watch people talk about Polymarket or prediction markets in general, they usually talk about 3 specific benefits of prediction markets and why it's the next big thing. The first benefit they say is that prediction markets are accessible. You don't need to be a Wall Street trader. Maybe you follow politics, maybe you understand movies, maybe you know crypto. The pitch is, if you know something about the world, you can turn that knowledge into money, because these are all event contracts, meaning the contract is tied to one specific real-world outcome. Will this actor win the 2026 Oscar? You don't have to be an expert in business or finance or trade. The second benefit they always talk about is that the math feels simple. These markets are binary, yes or no. You buy yes if you think the event will happen. And the price acts like a probability. If a yes contract trades at 67 cents, the market is saying that there is a 67% chance of this happening. So that prediction actually makes it feel clean. The logic feels easy. The third benefit that they will always bring up is that prediction markets are fair. Prediction markets are zero sum is a term that they use. That means that the wins and losses are balanced out. One person's profit is another person's loss. And at first that sounds reassuring. It makes it feel like there is no hidden trick. There's no house deciding the odds. It's just people taking the opposite side of a question. And honestly, I didn't really question it at first, until I realized something. Polymarket runs on public blockchain data. That means that anyone can see the actual trades. And once I realized that I could look at the data myself, I wanted to answer one simple question. Is it actually zero sum? Or better put, is the game fair for regular people? It's not. So I was able to get the Polymarket data very easily. I'm a professional analyst. It's what I do. I loaded it onto Python. I could look at about 2.4 million users. I'll say users in the video, but technically it's wallets. And I had one question to answer. Is the game actually fair for regular people? And who exactly wins? But before asking who wins, I first needed to ask, is there actually money being created here? Or is money just moving from one group to another? Because prediction markets are different from equity markets. In the stock market, there is at least a possibility that many investors can benefit over time because companies can grow, pay dividends, and create economic value. But prediction markets are binary contracts. If I win $1, someone on the other side is losing $1. So my first test was basically look at the data and add all the user profits and losses. Does it net out to zero? And these were my results. Of the 2.48 million users, winning users made about 1.049 billion, losing users made about 1.049 billion, and the system as a whole created $0 for all users. So Polymarket isn't a wealth creation machine, it's a wealth transfer machine. And technically, it is zero sum, but the money has to come from somewhere, right? So my next question is, how many people are actually losing? So I grouped every wallet into winners and losers. And this was the actual result. About 68.7% of users lost money. Only about 30.8% of users actually won. And the median user lost about, on average, $2. I want to phrase this simply. Out of the 2.48 million users, 69% of them lost money. The average median user lost about $2. Now, this is where it gets interesting, I promise, hang on. At first, you might think 69% lost money, 31% of users made money. That result may look less dramatic than gambling, and it sounds fine. 3 out of 10 people would make money on Polymarket. But then I looked at where the profits actually went, and this is where the entire thing changed. There were around 764,000 winning users, and together they made about $1.049 billion. Remember, total user base is large. It's 2.48 million users. But the top 0.1% of winners captured 51% of all profits. The top 1% captured 76% of all profits, and the top 5% captured 91% of all profits. Most of the money won on Polymarket went to a very tiny group of people, the top 5%. Prediction markets may be powered by the crowd, but the profits are not going to the crowd. So because of this, the next question is obvious, right? Who are these top winners? Are they just normal people like you and me who happen to guess correctly? But the data doesn't look like that. The top 0.1% of users made, on average, a profit of about $273,000. But what stood out for me is not how much they made, it is how differently they traded. The typical top user had a median volume of $748. The bottom user had a median about $68. Already, these are not the same kind of users, and not everyone has $748 to throw per trade. But then I looked at something more important. How were they trading? And this is where we need to talk about liquidity. Now, the idea of liquidity is quite simple. Liquidity just means, can you trade right now? When I open Polymarket and click yes, I choose $100. It feels like I am choosing how much to bet. But hidden underneath the interface is still a price. For example, yes might be trading at 67 cents. So if I click yes and I choose $100, I am saying use my $100 to buy as many yes contracts as possible at the current available price. But now the important question is, where exactly did that 67-cent price come from? It didn't appear magically. Someone else had put the price into the market. That person might be saying, I'm willing to sell yes at 67 cents. And these offers sit in the market waiting for someone to accept them. And that is the difference between a maker and a taker. A maker makes these offers, a taker is willing to accept them immediately. And a taker is the normal user experience. You click yes, you choose an amount, $100, and you accept the price that is already there. You are taking the available price. A maker does something different. A maker sets the price that they are willing to trade at and then waits. And this is called a limit order. It basically means, this is my price, take it or leave it. If someone accepts that price, the trade happens immediately. If nobody does, nothing happens. So when I say some of these users are providing the liquidity, I mean they are putting these buy and sell offers into the market. They are making it possible for other users to trade instantly. The casual user is just usually clicking the price already shown to them. The more sophisticated user may be placing the price that other people accept. And then combined with the different volumes of trades, a sophisticated user will trade $700 per trade. A casual user is only willing to put in $60. That tiny difference matters because there's usually a small gap between the price someone is willing to buy it and the price someone is willing to sell it. Maybe buyers are offering 67 cents and maybe sellers are asking for 69 cents. And that 2-cent gap is known as the spread. If you want to trade immediately, you cross that gap and you pay the slightly worse price for convenience. And over one trade that may seem tiny, but across thousands of millions of trades, the gap becomes serious money. And that is what stood out in the data. The top traders looked much more like price setters. The losers looked a lot more like price takers. The average user probably thinks that they are making a prediction. Will something happen, yes or no? But they are doing something else. They are accepting someone else's price. And if that price is slightly bad, that small advantage will add up over time. So with that, I grouped users by how much trading came from maker orders. Among users who never acted as makers, who never set prices, only about 25% of them made money. Among users who acted as makers for most of their trading, 49% of them made money. And that doesn't mean being a maker guarantees profit. Even the highest maker group, more than half of the users, still do not end up being profitable. But it does show something important. The users who behaved more like price setters had better odds than the users who mostly clicked the price that was readily available. And that supports the central idea of the video. The winners are not just better at guessing the future. They were better at understanding the market beneath the app. So by now, maybe it's information overload. But let's recap. Is a prediction market like Polymarket zero-sum? Yes, the system is zero-sum. Winners made 1.049 billion, losers lost 1.049 billion. However, of those 2.48 million users, most people are on the losing side, 68.7% of users. The winning side is extremely unequal. The top 1% captured 76.5% of profits, and the top users behave differently. They trade hundreds of times more and often at a much larger scale, something like a regular old Joe can't possibly do. And users with much more maker volume are much more likely to be profitable. So the conclusion here is this: prediction markets can be accurate, but the accuracy is not produced equally for everyone. A small group of sophisticated users appear to extract profit from a much larger group of less sophisticated users. And if you don't believe me, check out this paper written by people way smarter than I am, who have done the research in a lot more depth and came to the same conclusion. The system is literally built on losers. It is not a clickbait title. Thank you so much for watching. If you like my content, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.